Look at some of these clips and take the opportunity, please, to like this broadcast, ring the bell, or subscribe.
And we're stepping up in every way we can because we know that Russia must win this war. That Ukraine must win this war.
But freedom is something you earn every day.
I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Krayden. Thank you so much for joining me today. We've got a lot to discuss on this Thursday morning. Time is running out on some issues here, and we've got to stay on top of things. So I'll be back momentarily with, I think, what is one of the most shocking stories I've heard in weeks.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to...
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
So we've been talking for quite some time about the expense of keeping, first of all, over 100. Now there's about 40 or 50 RCMP officers at the Universal Ostrich Farms. There's probably about 20 CFIA people there. This is costing a fortune. We're going to get into that in a minute. But it's absolutely disgusting to me that the RCMP in BC can be so focused on persecuting an ostrich farm, more so than actually going after real criminals. Here's a shocking report.
Aiden's brother-in-law started dumping out the cans. Some were filled with beer, but not all.
And I was like, hey, wait, this looks like liquid glue that's coming out of this can.
Police raided the rented storage unit where Aiden's manager had been captured on camera, removing cases of beer. An officer videotapes and describes the staggering scene they found inside.
It was very confined. I could barely walk around.
Towering pallets of beer made in Canada, complete with the Maple Leaf logo, and white crystals blanketing almost every surface. Buckets of it. 700 kilos of liquid meth being crystallized.
You have the right to remain silent.
Aiden Segala's manager, later convicted of manslaughter, was getting rid of the excess beer, not knowing some cans still contained meth. New Zealand is in the midst of a meth crisis, and shockingly, Canada is fueling that addiction. The two largest busts in New Zealand history both originated in Canada, hidden in beer and this.
These 713 kilos of meth came from Canada, hidden in maple syrup.
It was kind of sad in some ways that we keep coming and saying we're getting bigger and bigger seizures.
In 2023, New Zealand seized more meth from Canada than anywhere else in the world. In 2024, the most intercepts involved meth from Canada, 171, about 3 meth seizures from Canada every single week.
Just this tonnage coming our way out of Canada.
Detective Superintendent Greg Williams is the director of New Zealand's National Organised Crime Group.
You have a reasonably dynamic organised crime environment in Canada. From what we're seeing, the scale of it, you've got some really significant sophistication up there.
And coming up tomorrow, Avery follows the meth pipeline from Canada to New Zealand, chasing leads that police here did not follow.
That is absolutely shocking. And follow it up with the guy died from drinking this beer. He probably thought it was just Canadian beer. Billy was excited to try Canadian beer for the first time. We thought it was a new brand that's about to start up in New Zealand. and we saw the Canadian logo, the flag logo on it, meaning the maple leaf. It was like, oh, cool. We thought it was from Canada. That's pretty cool then, Billy told CTV W5. Avery Haynes. And by the way, good job on you, Avery, W5 and CTV, for tackling this story, because it will embarrass the Carney government. It will embarrass our police forces, which are more interested in terrorizing farmers at ostrich farms than they are in stopping the flow of liquid meth to New Zealand or Fent. I'll say it that way. New reporting reveals U.S. officials claim Canada's federal police refused to cooperate with the American Drug Enforcement Agency on a massive Fent super lab in British Columbia. The lab was allegedly supplied by chemical companies in China. Oh, we reported on that. And nobody's done more work on this file than Sam Cooper, the investigative journalist who's been on this show several times. And he's done some great work on this file. But of course, BC's looking the other way. Mark Carney's looking the other way because it's coming in from China at the Vancouver ports. And the RCMP aren't interested in cooperating with the DEA. They're far more interested than going after ostrich farmers in Edgewood, BC. That seems to be the raison d'etre for the RCMP now. It's going after agriculture, going after farmers, going after enemies of the Carney government, or perceived enemies. This farm had no political axe to grind. And you can look at their social media over the last couple of, it was all about animals and about their farm and about their ostriches. It was the Carney government that politicized this. It's the Carney government that made this into a political hot potato that it is right now, because they would not act rationally. And I'm going to say it again. There's no reason at all to be killing any of these birds, but we know the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, is clearly doing that. The evidence is out there. It's mounting every day, and we've got to do something to stop this. The CFIA needs to be charged. As we said in the military, when somebody did something really stupid, it's charge the bastard. And that's what happens. That's what should be happening to the CFIA. And before I show you this video, I'll forget to do this. Please hype this video on YouTube, because it will help me. Because I'm telling you, every time I cover the ostrich farm, I get suppressed big time. Even though so many of you are interested in it, YouTube does not want to talk about this issue. It's fine to talk about Mark Carney's financial investments. They just seem to think that's okay. But don't talk about Big Pharma. Don't talk about the fact that these farmers are being persecuted and absolutely subject to the boot of the government, the jackboot of the government. Don't talk about that. No. And here's how you can hype it. You know, go into your YouTube board and click on hype. And yeah, it will help. I need your help, because I'm doing this news. I'm covering the story because I think it's incredibly important. I'm not doing this story so I can get huge numbers. And there's so many YouTubers out there, and I don't even call them journalists. I call them YouTubers, who are just ignoring the story because they say, hey, it's going to affect my numbers. I'll get suppressed. I won't make as much money this month. Meanwhile, the country's going down the tubes. But they don't want to cover this. No. By the way, if I didn't have a chance to show it, read my latest Human Events. I've got another one coming out soon. But I was quite proud of the story. Because yes, this was read by a large number of people in the United States. And the anger in the United States is growing just as it is in Canada about this Canadian Food Inspection Agency doing whatever the hell it pleases. Now, I want to show this to you. First of all, we got a lot of videos to show you today. I really don't know where to start, but I'm going to show you this one. Now, that's thanks to the good work of journalists who are on the scene right now, including Chris Dacey. There's not very many people there right now because a lot of the journalists who have dedicated time were off for Thanksgiving. There's a big event in Toronto today. So we need more exposure about this. But that shows you that the ostrich population on Universal Ostrich Farms is declining. There's clear evidence of this. And I want to take you through these slides now because the CFIA continues to be there day in and day out. And they are clearly up to no good. This is a clandestine cull. This is a secret killing because nobody can really see what they're doing behind these bales of fence. We've got people using a zoom lens to get a better view, and it's shocking what they're finding. But once again, we're putting the evidence out there. Nothing is being done. Nobody's telling the CFIA to stop it. Nobody's charging the CFIA for animal cruelty. They should be. The police are doing absolutely nothing to stop this. And the CFIA needs to be exposed as the black ops operator they are. This is a black ops government agency that's off the rails. It's gone rogue. And tomorrow I've got former Agriculture Minister Gerry Ritz on the show. We're going to be talking about how the CFIA behaved during the years of Stephen Harper. And Gerry was ag minister throughout the entire Stephen Harper years. And I think probably one of the best ag ministers we ever had because he was farmer. And here's the kicker, folks. I was reminded of this morning. He was an ostrich farmer for a time. So I think he might know something about this. And I know he knows a lot about the workings of the CFIA because he was the minister responsible for them. So let's have a look at this. All right. So how much money are they spending for this operation? This is what we're on day 24 now of an illegal occupation. It is. It's an illegal occupation because they have been totally ignoring the legality of they didn't get a search warrant. They got a warrant to search, and they're abusing that warrant to search. They're taking over adjacent farms that have nothing to do with the business of the ostrich farm. They have occupied the farm, and they are maltreating the ostriches in their custody. So here's the, semi-truckloads of hay bales, so much so that local farmers weren't able to get hay. Use of blue modular fences for access restriction. Rubber matting. Not explicitly mentioned in reports, but inferred as a biosecurity flooring investment. There's that word, eh? To avoid contamination. Trucking multiple semi-trailers for hay and other supplies from regional suppliers. Personnel rates, federal employee salaries, overtime and contractor fees, adjusted to 2025 inflation from public benchmarks. Duration, initial setup 3 days, plus ongoing. So I'm putting in an access to information request to see exactly how much money, how much of your tax dollars the CFIA and the RCMP are wasting on Mark Carney's $1 million boondoggle. Because how much is it? Well, we're getting there. Setup phase, days 1 to 3. Personnel, 42,000 to 56,000 for the CFIA. RCMP, 30,000 to 38,000. CFIA were 12,000 of that. 12,000, 8,000. Gas, $4,000. Plus 5,500 a day. Hotels. Here's what I really want to talk about in a second here. The hotels. Maximum. I'm sorry. The logistics, $27. Ongoing phase. Days 4 to 25. Personnel, it's continuing to go in. Up to 45,400 a day shared between the RCMP and the CFIA. Gas continues to flow. So what does that come to? Mark Carney's $1 million boondoggle could be millions of dollars boondoggle by the time they're done. Total impact 1.6 to 1.8 million to date. Overall average 45,000 to 500, 45,500 to 62,100. For RCMP, CFIA personnel, including overtime, hotels, gas, and supplies that include hundreds of hay bales, rubber matting, heavy-duty blue fencing, blue bins, multiple semi-trucks, and transport to occupy the farm. Here, I want to show you something, because I was in the Canadian Armed Forces for years, and I used to go on temporary duty. And here's what nobody's talking about. And I want to share this with you for a sec here. All right, where do you think the CFIA is staying while they're in Vernon? Yeah, we know they're in Vernon. I can tell you this. They ain't staying at the budget hotels here. No, not the Sandman Inn. That's not good enough either. Best Western, well, we're getting there. The Castle at Swan Lake, what do you bet? That might just fit in the government registry. There's a registry of hotel. Every time somebody goes on temporary duty in the government, they have to look up to see whether the hotel that they want to stay at is in the official registry. In other words, if it's approved. This is borderline. $171 a night, that's borderline. How do I know that? Because I used to stay on temporary duty, and people will always try to find the most expensive hotel that just got into the government guidelines. So maybe they're not at the castle at Swan Lake, although I bet you they are. But I'm sure at the very least they're at the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Vernon, $149 a night. And by the way, these are budgeted rates here. These are discounted rates. But they could be at the Predator Ridge Lodge, $189 a night. How about this one? Well, this might not make the government registry. Spirit Lodge at Silver Star, $259 a night. I can tell you this, they're sure as hell not at Canada's Best Value Inn and Suites for $78 a night. So how does that grab you? That, my friend, is exactly what the CFIA is up to. And they get a per diem. I remember when I was in the military, it was about $70 a day. And no, you could drink on that if you wanted to, just miss breakfast and lunch. And you could spend it all on dinner. And you could get some booze for that because it's a per diem. You don't have to hand in receipts. It's per diem. So these guys are getting at least 70. I don't know what the current rates are, but they're very generous. So they're living high off the hog while they try to put an ostrich farm out of business and kill all the ostriches. And that, my friend, is the fact of this matter here. Now, let's watch a bit more of this incredible saga that continues to unfold at the Edgewood farm.
I need to know what these bids are doing. Why are there so many? They come in and out repeatedly.
Why are 6 bins coming every single day? That's the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are the numbers dropping every single day? Coincidence?
Yeah, and I'm hoping it's something we don't think it is, but there seems to be a drastic short count of birds.
Yeah, seems to be a drastic short count of birds. I think that's Chris Dacey talking. And once again, I shout out for Chris Dacey for being there and getting this video, because there's literally nobody else able to do it right now. And I'm still wondering if I'm more useful here or there, but we've got some other plans in the offing, because we are looking at the destruction of a family farm here. And this is not just an anomaly. This is the government persecuting agriculture, attacking agriculture, assaulting agriculture. They have been doing this for 10 years now. It started on October 19th. That's Sunday. That's the 10th anniversary of the election of Justin Trudeau. All right, took him about a week or so to be installed as prime minister, but we're looking at the 10th anniversary this month of the Trudeau-Carney regime. And Mark Carney is literally pushing through, well, literally, rapidly implementing all of Trudeau's policies that didn't get done. This is what Mark Carney is doing. Many people have said he's more dangerous than Justin Trudeau. You're damn right he is, because he's getting away with it, and people tend to take him seriously because he was a banker and he doesn't wear stupid socks and he doesn't, let his hair grow down and decide he wants to look like a philosopher king with a beard one moment, and then he wants to look like a pop star the next. Mark Carney gets away with it because people think he's basically a serious guy. After all, he was the governor of the Bank of England, the governor of the Bank of Canada. He must know something. Yeah, he knows how to be a grifter and a grafter. He knows how to facilitate crony capitalism. That's what he's learned in his career, is how to use his positions to make money in the private sector. Mark Carney is expert at that. And he's continuing to do that as prime minister. 103 different conflicts of interest. We just found out that firm in Powell River that wants to have a 30-year contract with the United States to sell power is owned by Brookfield Investments. It all goes back to Mark Carney. What do you think is happening here? This is the takeover of the Canadian government by crony capitalism. There's nothing wrong with capitalism. I'm a free enterpriser. I'm a small L libertarian, a small C conservative. This is not private enterprise. It's graft. It's corruption. Call it what it is. And by the way, I'll say this now. Share this broadcast with your friends and family. I'm being stepped on again for talking about the ostriches. And I'll keep doing it. I'll keep reporting on this issue because I think it's integral to the future of this country. If we don't stop the Liberals from doing what they're doing right now, we're going to lose this country, folks. Mark Carney's already got legislation coming down the pipeline. Oh, yeah, the pipeline he's never going to see built. But I digress. There's legislation coming down the pipe that is going to censor all of us on social media. Pierre Poilievre needs to address that. Thank God some conservative MPs are, and I want to say good on you, Andrew Lawton, for grilling the Attorney General / Justice Minister Sean Fraser on this issue, giving him hell for wanting to censor all speech, to expand our hate speech laws. And I want to say good on you, Scott Anderson, the member of Parliament who represents Edgewood, BC, and that region. Thank you. Thank you for fighting so hard for your constituents, Katie Pasitne and her mother and the family. Thank you for fighting so hard. Thank you for fighting so hard, Scott, because we need to hear more about this from Pierre Poilievre, and we haven't. Let's watch a bit more from the farm, because and I warn you, this is absolutely shocking what's going on here.
We watched this gate first open when it first started, and we were shocked because we're not Universal Ostrich Farm. Yeah. So when they got in here, they immediately set up camp, and it's for operational logistics so that they could build roads around, so that they can situate themselves in a safe spot and have operational success. So we watched this gate get bust open here, and a warrant was put on the door and taped on, but we couldn't access because nobody could go in and get that warrant for us. It took us days to even be able to see it.
What I don't understand is what warrant do they have?
Yeah, they have a search and seizure warrant that's written to my aunt and her business partner, not to my parents. Yeah. And it says Universal Ostrich Farm secondary quarantine property, which it's not Universal Ostrich Farm. So we have to fight it in court, and we're trying. But we watched it all on live stream, so it was very stressful. We had about 3 live streams open on our phones and our computers, and then we also had the live stream on the TV as well. We were just watching from every angle to see. We were seeing people try to get in, and we were seeing some people, like police, put their truck in here. We're not sure at all what was going on.
And you didn't tell them to beat it?
We weren't here.
So that's important. Sorry, just one sec. So you weren't here and you were watching this occur via live stream?
Yeah. And watching them serve Katie and Karen with the warrants, and then they were saying, this is not Universal Ostrich Farm property. That's my sister's property, what Karen was saying. And they said, we'll clarify it with her. We'll get in touch with her. And they never did. They never did.
So we'll put the map over it. So like, just so people can have a bit of context here, this is kind of like a slivered triangle property that goes to the corner.
8 acres, and it goes to the highway. So yeah, it's a big segment, but what they wanted it for was logistical access from the highway and from the road here to avoid the protesters. So now when they do their shift change, they can do it up there, and they can truck in their hay bales and stuff from the highway. They built new driveways.
So that's the stuff that you showed me with that kind of overhead shot. And that does, I mean, like, it's terrible to think.
I've got to interject at this point. Can you imagine if the government occupied your backyard and decided to start building roads through it? These people are off the rails. This has got to be unlawful. We know the animal cruelty is unlawful, but they haven't been charged for anything. They are literally taking over this woman's backyard and building roads on it. They have no right to do that. Do I sound angry about this? Yeah, because it could happen to you next. It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody this government decides is not part of the right club. And this is shocking.
But from a logistical sense, I kind of understand that they've sealed it off and now they can get in and out and bring in their murder wall or whatever they have to do.
And it was never a quarantine. It was never seized in any way until September. So in December, when they issued a quarantine notice for the birds, it's by coordinates. It's very specific. It was not this. And then when they seized this and they called it secondary quarantine property, as soon as that happened, I mean, they just expanded it in September because they knew they were going to have a fight on their hands. If they had never, in April, they wouldn't probably have, because they wouldn't have known what, this is one road in. They wouldn't have known how everybody was going to be set up or anything like that. It's just when they knew they were going to have a fight that they were like, how are we going to do it?
So it was like...
We're working on that, yeah. Yeah, we are working on it. Like, it's just that it has to go through the courts, and then, there was a million different issues in trying to wrap up the Supreme Court. Getting the Supreme Court application in was first and foremost the most primary objective, because I mean the clock's ticking on lives.
What cops have jurisdiction here?
Well, the RCMP, it's a search and seizure warrant, but whenever I ask them about it, they always say it's not our warrant, it's a CFIA warrant, which is different.
Where's the warrant?
Well, we have it now, yeah, and we're going over it with lawyers. And
so that stuff's kind of complicated, like the wheels grind slowly. And that was my understanding. So the RCMP are here enforcing a warrant issued to CFIA?
Yeah, it was CFIA applied for that warrant and had a judge sign it. And it was based on the Health of Animals Act, not anything like with the criminal code.
So it's their jurisdiction kind of that applied the warrant.
And they can have until October 22nd to be in here
now.
And they can extend it if they want.
October 22nd, that's...
Hopefully, I mean, every day goes by a little faster.
And then, so you weren't here then, but you have been coming and going. Like we talked a little bit last night, there was a bit...
I'll interject again. Any judge in the province of British Columbia could issue an injunction against this based on the fact that this farm is not in any way affiliated with Universal Ostrich Farms, except that it's the neighboring property. Any judge could stop this organization from building roads in their backyard, on their backyard, because that is so beyond the pale. But it has to make you laugh. If you do want a road built in your backyard, or your community needs a new road, just piss off the CFIA and they'll start building one.
An incident when you tried to come in and couldn't, like maybe you can tell us quickly about that.
Oh yeah, I got here early in the week and they let me in, and they let my cousin in, they let my other cousins come in. They said family only, no friends, but family could come and help us get set up. And so we all showed our ID, and it was probably 30 minutes standing in front of our headlights, like
show your papers, basically.
Just drawing all kinds, I'm sure, of looks, because it seemed as if there was something going on, but it was just takes sometimes to go through this checkpoint. It's a while. If they just decide to make it a little harder, if there's a shift change and the police don't recognize me, they might make it a little harder.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, after we had been here days, I had done an interview with Rebel News, just standing right there looking at the gate.
Yeah.
And then at...
Is she here right now?
No. And then at 1, so I did that about, I don't know, noon to 1 p.m. And then at 4 or 5 p.m. I got a text from the liaison saying, and remember, you have to text the CFIA if you want to go in here. Anytime you want to go in, you have to email them and get written permission. Otherwise, we wouldn't want them authorizing your arrest. Good luck. So my cousin and my aunt could get arrested for trying to protect their animals, and I could get arrested for going to get my coat from my car where I live, you know.
Which is entirely, it sounds like, like if you were allowed in before, it sounds like it's punitive, like they're pissed off you talked.
Well, it doesn't seem like a judge would have issued that at 5 p.m. on a Friday, that suddenly, and they specifically had showed me the email that said that my mom and my stepdad were fine and no Allie.
Yeah, so, really? So like you were singled out specifically?
No Allie, yeah.
Wow.
And then then there was like, you know, drama and tears and whatever, just trying to get in. And then when they did allow me, because they made me write another email to them, show them that I had emailed them. They like took my phone, zoomed in to see that I had emailed the right email. Then they went back and talked with the CFIA, and the CFIA allowed me an exemption to sleep in there. And then they responded the next morning and said that I could go in there. But now suddenly no dogs. We can't have our dogs.
No dogs now.
Yeah.
But, man.
So they just have to push that.
Well, and this is wild. Like directly behind you, this fence is like your fence normally, and police cars lined up behind it, and
it's not a normal place to ever not be allowed to go.
No, and like you were telling me, you know, like you grew up here, like your whole life, you've been kind of coming out and doing a thing, and like I can't imagine what this blows my mind. I can't imagine for you.
It's crazy. Like we've just, I mean, to see that view of all the police coming for my aunt and my cousin. Of all people, because they're the kindest people I know, they're the best people I know. And now they're being treated worse than the worst criminals that I've ever seen. That crazy line of police, like.
Yeah, and I mean, I've gotten a chance to know them a little bit and talk to you now, and I mean, you guys are wonderful. Like, I think your intentions are good, and I mean, I imagine probably all the police here they'd probably prefer doing police work, and like there's probably crime or criminals somewhere in this province or country that could use addressing, maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah, to put it lightly.
Another email to them, police, like.
Yeah, and I mean, I've gotten a chance to know them a little bit and talk to you now, and I mean, you guys are wonderful. Like, I think your intentions are good, and I mean, I imagine probably all the police here they'd probably prefer doing police work, and like there's probably crime or criminals somewhere in this province or country that.
Yeah, we heard about those criminals and the export of the drug trade. BC's become a laboratory for organized crime. You really think the cops want to go after real criminals? I don't know if that's the case. I think they are enjoying this because it's pretty easy work.
Well, yeah.
Could use addressing, maybe.
Hopefully they'd rather be doing policing, but I think they're having a pretty decent time here because everybody's decent. Like, because we work hard to.
Because you guys are.
When I come in, like, and I do talk to them, and I ask them, like, you know, do you think that they're okay? Like, do you think that they're doing the right thing in there? Are they abiding by what they're supposed to? And we talk it through, and I think they don't know too much about the CFIA, and I'm trying to tell them what I know, which is I've read a lot about them, and I'm super concerned. So I think we just have to keep teaching them more about what we know about the CFIA, because I don't think they know. I think they're just hired.
And I mean, I get it. Like, everyone needs to earn a living, and like, I wouldn't pass up a massive overtime job maybe to sit in the mountains, but
to go sit in a beautiful place, and hang out with your
I get it.
cop reunion.
But I think that probably is the good way to do it, right? Inform, like, stand in truth, and just, you know, always take the high road, ideally.
Find common ground and meet each other as people, so that you can actually have a conversation.
Well, I'm sorry, the high road is leading to nowhere right now, so I cannot concur with that assessment. Because these people are playing hardball. They want these ostriches all dead. They want this family farm destroyed. And they want to continue to wage their little war in agriculture, because this is all about adhering not to Canadian law, but to United Nations law. And as I pointed out, They're not even doing that. The UN is actually a lot less strict about these conditions. There's more emphasis on quarantine. And the United States, as we've documented on this program all week, the Trump administration has completely deep-sixed all of the stamping out policies coming from the UN, the World Health Organization, the World Animal Health Organization. All of these stupid regulations are being totally dismissed and thrown out by the Trump administration. So it's total BS for the government of Canada or the CFIA to say, we're doing this to maintain international trading standards. Nonsense. And they know it. This is why the CFIA won't test these birds. They know these birds are healthy. They've known that from day one. And I'm going to say this one more time on here. It took them 2 to 3 days to put on their hazmat costumes because they knew these birds posed no threat to public health. Here's another video.
Here's the supporters. Here's the hay bale corral that they built.
So that's the kill pen?
That's the kill pen, yeah. So here, they knew that they were going to have protesters here. So this is originally what they issued the quarantine on. It's based on coordinates, super
So that's the warranted area.
Yeah, this is what was originally December 31st created as the quarantine, notice of quarantine. So then what they realized was that the protesters were going to be here, and there's only one road in. So they knew they were going to have to close. They're not used to being told no, ever.
Who's not used to? CFIA? Yeah.
Is not used to being told no, ever. So they just thought that they were going to come in here and everybody was going to comply and that they were going to immediately kill everything. But then when they realized there was going to be protesters, everybody was going to have a problem.
And things are
with it.
visible.
Then in September, when they were figuring out logistics, they declared this. They seized this as well.
Okay, and that's your land.
That's our land. So this.
Oh, so you're the garlic picker.
So you see what's happening here. This is a government that doesn't like protests, unless the protesters are on their side. But they don't want farmers protesting. They don't want these little people, these ordinary Canadians, protesting liberal agricultural policy or the crazy operations of the CFIA. So what do? Well, we're not going to face those protesters. We don't want to see those protests every day. We'll just pretend it's not there. We'll build another road. And this is what they've done. So they can continue to avoid the protesters and they can truck onto the property anything they want surreptitiously. Why do you think all of these garbage bins are there and are being used? How much garbage do you think the CFI and the RCMP are producing? A dumpster a day? Well, sometimes there are 2 dumpsters a day going out of there. How do I know that? Katie told me that one night she was actually trying to inspect the blue bins that were being trucked out. And this is at an ungodly hour, and she's doing this because she knows there's something going on here. She suspected, first of all. Now I think she has adequate proof the CFIA is conducting what must be termed an illegal kill. The Supreme Court told them to stay the execution. Clearly, the CFIA doesn't listen to the Supreme Court, and it thinks it's above the law. This is a lawless organization, an off-the-rails organization, an organization that doesn't give a damn about following procedure, protocol, or even the law. And this is where we come to in Canada. So once again, Chris Dacey, thank you for that video where this neighbor essentially said, they just seized my land because I was next to the ostrich farm and they needed it to build a road. So they stole my land. They occupied my land. She can't even go into her own house without written permission from the CFIA. And if that's not an organization that's completely off the rails, I don't know what is. And I want to show you my merchandise, but I got a special video to show you here at the end of the program, which I think you're going to like. I encourage you to have a look at the merchandise in the store. Thank you for your loyalty in the past, for buying this. I think we've got some great merchandise, and I appreciate your patronage on this. And I think it's wonderful. I got to start wearing my stand on guard hat again during these broadcasts. And some of you thought I was wearing the stand on guard broadcast because I'm losing my hair. I'm not losing. One thing I can say is my hair has not thinned. Anyway, want to show you this because how many times have we said on this program that the CBC is a blatant propaganda arm of the Liberal government? And it's gotten worse in the last 10 years. And mainstream media has gotten worse because, of course, they're all subsidized by the federal government. First of all, Trudeau, then Carney. And Carney doubled down on this during the election campaign. You bet we're going to continue to subsidize the mainstream media. It's good news for the government. So they control so much of the mainstream media. Thankfully, so many of you don't give a damn about what the mainstream media is reporting or doing. You're locked in, you're hooked in to new media and independent media. And that's good because it's an alternative take on reality. And you're not getting reality from CBC. This, to me, is the epitome of how incredibly toxic, stale, and yes, amateurish the CBC is. Let's have a look at this. Thanks, Rebel News, for putting that out. And Drea Humphrey had that on our X, and I thought this is where I first saw it. So many people commented on that. And I think Viva Fry showed that on his show last night. I had to show it because the great Milton Berle, the comedian who was basically they called him Mr. Television because he sold more TV sets. He used to, Berle used to joke about that. But when Milton Berle saw a really bad act that wanted to be on his show, he'd say, it's high school, strictly high school, meaning they were basically not professional. They weren't very good. Well, this act was high school, totally high school. This is embarrassing to watch, and it's strictly out of amateur hour, but it's also strictly out of North Korea, where you've got the CBC distributing this sort of toxic propaganda, making farmers look like they're morons. Yeah, look at that. Look at the hayseed. Look at the hayseed who just can't comprehend reality like the CFIA goons. They made this guy like an extra from Hee Haw, if you remember that show from the 70s. And that's exactly what they want to do. They want to ridicule. They want to totally destroy. They want to eviscerate farmers as being morons and stupid people who can't keep up with the science. Well, I'm sorry. If you're familiar with this program, you've watched Katie Pasitne on this show at least 8 times. I don't think there's a more articulate, more eloquent, more informed, more educated farmer. And how dare the CBC talk about Edgewood, talk about the Universal Ostrich Farms, and they put this guy up there representing that farm. That's what they're talking about, obviously. But no, do they put an articulate, well-spoken woman there? No, they put a guy there who, as I said, looks like an extra from Hee Haw. And because they want to ridicule farmers. Not the real farmers know this material. They know why these birds are healthy. They know the CFIA is full of bullshit. They know that they have been looking after these birds. It's the CFIA that has been maltreating them and subjecting them to animal cruelty. So the CBC is once again guilty of being a foul mouthpiece for a foul Carney government, justifying the killing of these birds. We don't know how much time we have, but we're continuing to work on other options. Please share this broadcast with your friends or family. Let's hype this broadcast. Let's get the word out. I'm going to stay on this story for as long as it takes. It may not be the story that gets the best numbers on YouTube, but this is about the future of not only farmers and agriculture, but all of you, all of us. because we are facing a ravenous, dictatorial, authoritarian, Carney government that wants us to be silent and wants us to just get on our knees while they mow us over. Thank you so much for watching today, folks. It's been a pleasure. I'll be back again tomorrow with more. Gerry Ritz joins me tomorrow, hoping to interview Katie at some point today and include that in the broadcast, or do a special broadcast tonight. I'll be calling her within the hour. Thanks very much. God bless all of you.